Welcome back everyone to another episode of Let's Build Twitter. We're on episode 89, and in this episode we start out by modifying the user slice to allow for a user's JWT token to be stored when they log in. We set up a custom hook to easily set and retrieve the JWT when the user logs in or comes back to the page later on. Then we implemented this feature of saving and grabbing the JWT on our feed page. Then we set up the login modal to have the ability to open up a register modal when a user doesn't have an account, wrapping up with starting work on a new modal for users who forgot their password. As always, I'm Ethan on Koder, and let's hop straight into the development. Previously, we wrapped up being able to sign in and everything. Now we need to do a little bit more work to be able to actually store the JWT into local storage. That way we know whenever the user is still logged in, whenever they leave the page. And then we need to also work on a few more little modals and stuff before we actually move into the feed page and some of those other things. Let's go ahead and hop back into VS Code. Like I said, the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is make it so that we can actually store a JWT. So we're going to go back into here, and I'm going to clean some stuff up really quick. We actually want to go into our user slice, and let's close out of this. So we need to go ahead and set up some things for the initial state. So we need to set up something inside the user slice. We need to set a token. So we're going to go underneath the username. We're going to set a token, which is a string. And then inside of our initial state, we're going to have a token, which is going to be an empty string to start out. Maybe if I could type. And this is going to be our JWT token in a moment. Then on our login user.fulfilled, we're going to update that as well. So if we scroll down here to our fulfilled, we need a token, which we can get in here. So we're going to say comma token. It's going to be action.payload.token, like so. We can return the state, and now that's going to get the token out for us. We're going to be able to store this in local storage in a moment. So to make our lives a little bit easier here, I'm going to go ahead and make a use local storage hook. I'm going to make a new folder just inside the source and folder. I'm going to call this hooks. Oh, I already have a hooks. We saw anything in it. We're going to make a new file, use local storage. And we're just going to say TS because it's a hook. So this is just going to be a little bit of a utility hook that can help us out a little bit. So we need to import our use state and use effect from React. Whoops, React maybe. And we're just going to say export function. And this is going to be called use local storage. And this needs to take in a key, which will be a string. And it needs to take in a property, which is a string. Property string. So basically the key is going to be the key that we store in local storage, and the property will be the value. So we're going to go ahead and say const of value and set value is equal to use state. This will be a string, of course. And what we're going to go and do is we are going to return a callback function. We're going to say const get value is equal to local storage dot get item by the key. Now this might not exist, so we're going to say if get value is not equal to null. So if it's not null, we'll go ahead and return that get value, maybe. So that means we already had a value in local storage with that key. We don't need to actually store it. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and return the property that we set above. That'll be our value. And then we want a remove value. So const remove value. And we don't need to pass this one anything just because we already have the key stored in here. So we're going to say local storage. And we're going to say dot remove item. We're going to pass in that key that we set originally. And finally, we have a use effect. We'll have our callback, and inside the use effect, we're just going to have our value. So if the value changes, what we're going to go ahead and do is we'll say local storage dot set item. We have our key and then our value. And there we go. Now we just need to go ahead and return the things that we need for this hook. So we're going to return, we're going to say a value, set value, and remove value. and this is going to be as const. There we go. So we have our use local storage. Whoops, I forgot to close this. That's fine. Now we need to go ahead and set up our feed page to actually use this local storage hook to grab the user and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our feed page. This doesn't really have anything in it currently, but eventually we'll build this out. So what we're going to go ahead and do is firstly, we need a use effect. And then we need a couple of other things. So we need use selector. Selector from React Router DOM or React Redux, I'm sorry. Then we also need our local storage. So import our use local storage. We also need our root state. So go ahead and import our root state from our store. All right. So now let's go ahead and import our state. So to say const state is going to be equal to use selector. And of course, we'll have our state and root state. And then we're going to return state.user like so. And we need our const. And we're going to say JWT, set JWT, and finally remove JWT. And this is going to be equal to our use local storage. And we're going to store this as token. And then to start out, it's going to be an empty value because we don't have a value yet. So now what we need to go ahead and do is actually use a use effect to check to see a few things. So we're going to set up use effect. And inside the use effect, we're just going to run this once on load up. So the first thing we're going to check to see if there's no JWT. So JWT is equal to empty string and state.token is not empty. So this means that the user was just logged in. So the token is not actually stored in local storage yet. So I need to do that. So if our JWT is equal to an empty string and our state.token is not empty string, so this means that there's something in there. So that means that console.log, and we'll say, whoops, there is no token in local storage, but there's one in state. So console.log, this means the user just logged in, store the token in local storage. So that's what we want to do. So we'll go ahead and say set our JWT. We're going to say state.token. So that is the first possibility here. The next possibility, else if. The next possibility is that if the JWT is not empty, but the state.token is, so this means that the user just returned. So we'll go ahead and say JWT not equal to, this, and our state.token is empty. So once again, this means that console.log, and we'll say user returned to the website and is logged in. So we need to console.log. We need to say need to store the token in the user slice. We need to make a dispatch for that. We'll deal with that later, or reducer. And the final else is if they're not logged in. So this will be console.log, and we'll say user is not logged in. And then we'll say navigate, user not logged in, console.log, navigate to the, the login page or the landing page. I'm just going to say login page. So those are the three possible states we could be: not logged in at all, logged in but just returned, and then just logged in. So this one's good to go. However, if we want to set this one, we need to actually set up a new reducer inside of a user slice. Let's go ahead and set that up. So what we'll do is we'll come back in here. We'll go into our Redux and slices user slice. And then inside of our reducers, we're going to go ahead and quickly set up a set token. This will take in a state and an action, which is a payload action, and this will be a string. And then here we're going to have state is equal to state, and then we'll go ahead and say token is equal to action payload, like so. And then we need to return the state, and at the bottom of the page, let's go ahead and return the state, or not the state, but this reducer, and this will be set token, and save that. All right, that's good to go. Now we can go ahead and bring that in to our feed page. So now we can go ahead, we'll grab use dispatch, like so, use dispatch. Oh, I put it from the wrong one. Whoops, this should be up here. And then we need our app dispatch. So I'll grab app dispatch here. And then, whoops, app dispatch. And then we also need the set token. Import our set token from, and this will be coming from our Redux. I don't know why that one didn't pop up. That's interesting. /slices/user slice. All right, now it popped up. That's good to go. We have our state. So let's set up our dispatch. So now we'll just say const dispatch, and this will be app dispatch equal to use dispatch, like so. And now here we're going to go ahead and dispatch our set token. We're going to get our JWT, and this is coming from up here, our JWT. I always do that. Whoops. So we'll dispatch that, and that's good to go. And then finally, we can go ahead and set up the router. So once again, we need to grab in use navigate, and I'll just put it here. Import use navigate from React.DOM. We'll set up a router, so const navigate, I guess the navigator, navigate is equal to use navigate, like so. And now in the final piece, we'll go ahead and navigate to slash. So navigate and slash, like that, and save. And I believe that should be good to go. So if we go ahead, and I believe we have users and everything, let me double check. So Twitter backend, that's all good to go. We can hop in here, we can go ahead and try to sign in. And if we try to go to slash feed, or is it home? I don't remember, it might be home. It doesn't let us go to home. If we sign in, and let me actually pull up the inspect just so we can see what's going on. So we saw users not logged in, navigate to home page. So we'll say unknown coder and next. And then I think it's just password, and hit login. You see there's no token to use storage. So that means that we need to go ahead and store it. So we stored it, and if we actually go into an application and we see token, there's a token there. And now if we come back up to console and refresh, it should keep us here. So it says user returned to the website and is logged in. Need to store that token in the user slice. So everything is working as expected and looks good. So cool. I'm actually going to go ahead and close out of this, and I think I want to delete the token real quick. That way we can actually go back to the login page. So I'm just going to go here, delete selected. If I refresh, it should take us back to the login page. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these comments, or I'm going to comment these, I guess. Not best practice, but I like them here anyway, just so I can see what's going on. It'll be fine. Cool. So that's good to go. So now we need to do a couple of modifications to a couple things. So I'm going to go into our login form 1. If I can find it, our features and login, and then login form 1. And what we want to go ahead and do is set up our don't have an account to actually open up the register modal. So let me double check a couple of things here. I'm going to scroll up. So we're going to go ahead and make a new interface, and this is going to be a login form 1 props, and this is just going to have a no account, and this will be a void function. And then we're going to go ahead and pull this in here. So I'm going to say login form 1 props, and we'll bring in the no account. And all we're simply going to do, I believe, is come down to where we don't have our account, which I believe is a span at the bottom. Don't have an account, last name, yada yada yada. So all we want to go ahead and do is on this span, and then we go ahead and word wrap this. Oh, it's already word wrapped, but on this span, I'm going to go ahead and add an on click here. And the on click is going to be no account. And we'll have to go ahead and modify our login modal to accommodate this, but we can go ahead and do that next. Now, if we come back into our login modal, it should have an error. Yep, there it is. So we need to pass in a no account there. So what we're going to go and do is we're going to make a new function in here, and we're going to call it const open register. And we're going to say like this and like this, whoops, and one of these. And we're going to go ahead and say toggle modal. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So that will basically close the login modal. And we're also going to go ahead and toggle register. And go ahead and do one of these. And we'll also add toggle register here. And then we're going to go ahead and also say toggle register. So it'll close out of the login, and then it will open up the register. We need to go ahead and say, I forgot what I called this. Let me double check. I called it no account. No account is going to be equal to toggle register. Like that. And now, once again, this is going to break inside the landing page. Let's go into the landing page, pages, and landing.tsx. And this should cause an issue here. So now our toggle register will be toggle register, just like that. And I believe this should be good to go. So now if we go ahead and hop back in here, and if we say, okay, well, we sign in, we don't have an account, sign up, and now it didn't close. Let me double check something. Not closing out of, this should be open register. Let me try that. I think I bugged it. There we go. Cool. So sign in, hit this, it kind of takes us here. So that takes care of that little modal thing. Now the big piece of work that we have to work on here over the next few episodes probably is going to be the forgot password feature. So this one is going to take a good long time to get through, probably several episodes. But to start out, we're going to go back into here, and I'm going to close out of our login modal stuff for a while. We're going to have lots of folders here. In our features, I want to make a new folder, and I'm going to go ahead and call this forgot password. And then in here, I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call this components. And inside component, I'm going to make one new folder. I'm going to call this forgot password modal. And inside of forgot password modal, make a new file, forgot password modal. And tsx. All right. And I don't believe we actually need a CSS for this. Go ahead and import React. Whoops. From React. And we'll go ahead and import our modal from our components. And components slash, whoops. I didn't go, I need to go back one more. Now I can go components slash modal slash modal. Cool. Export const forgot password modal. And this is going to be a react.fc. I don't know why I did this like this, but we have a toggle modal here, and this might change. We'll see. And this will be a void. This should be also an object. So my original plan here was to not have to drag in a slice here. However, I might refactor this later on after I know what I know now. So we'll see. We're going to probably have another refactoring series of videos, maybe even a refactoring stream eventually. But we're going to go ahead and return our modal. So we're going to go ahead and say modal We'll have our top content. Whoops. Top content, which will be equal to just top for now. We'll have our content, which is just equal to content. And then we'll have our bottom content, which is just going to say bottom. Cool. So that is our forgot modal. And let's go ahead and do like our index file just to make this a little bit prettier. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I suppose for now, yeah, under forgot password, new file, and we'll go ahead and say index.ts. And we'll go ahead and import it. So import forgot password modal. And we'll go ahead and export defaults. Whoops. Import, I cannot type, default, and forgot password modal. Save. So that's good to go. Forgot to close this again. Oopsie daisies. And now let's go ahead and pull it into the landing page just so we can see what's going on. So if we go back to our landing and close out this, let's go ahead and pull this in. So we'll go ahead and import our forgot password modal from forgot password modal. And for the time being, let's just go ahead and throw it at the top, I believe is what I end up doing. We'll set up a state. So const and forgot password set forgot password equal to use states, which is a Boolean, and I'm going to set to true for now. And then I'm also going to go ahead and say const toggle. And this is going to be const toggle forgot password and equal to one of these. And then we'll go ahead and say set forgot password. And this is going to be equal to not forgot password. So we'll go ahead and turn it off or on, whichever one. And here we'll go ahead and say if forgot password question mark, then we'll show the forgot password modal, and we need our toggle modal, which is going to be the toggle forgot password. And then we'll go ahead and also not do that, say this and this. Cool. So now it should just pop up automatically for us. As you see, we have our top, content, bottom. Obviously it's not styled, there's no data in there, nothing like that. We need to create all that. We'll have to do that in a second, but it's looking good so far. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed, please stick around for the next episode by hitting that subscribe button. You'll know exactly when it comes out, especially with that bell icon. If you did enjoy the content today, please sure to leave a thumbs up. If you did enjoy it, leave a thumbs down. Either way, it helps out with the algorithm all the same. And finally, if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, make sure you leave a comment down below. With that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.